Welcome to Around and Around, the OCD Circle. My name is Elizabeth, and I have been living with obsessive-compulsive disorder for over 60 years. I am not a therapist or a member of the medical community. I am just an ordinary person like yourself who will be sharing my thoughts and experiences with you, with the hope that you will feel less alone. If you don't have OCD, I hope you will learn some information that will help you understand this disorder better. Some of the topics I will be covering may be triggering for you as a listener. If so, I apologize in advance. Since I don't know what your triggers are, please refer to the episode summary in the show notes before listening to each episode. If at any time you feel like hurting yourself or ending your life, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 if you are in the United States. It is open 24 hours a day, and you will be connected with the nearest crisis center to receive immediate counseling and local mental health referrals. Now, on to today's episode. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for starting your day with me on the Around and Around the OCD Circle podcast. This morning's episode is part 2 of my conversation with Traci Perkins, who was a patient on the reality show The OCD Project. The OCD Project took place in 2010 and is available for viewing on YouTube. I encourage you to watch it in order to get to know Traci better. And also, if you have any questions for Traci, please contact me on one of my social media accounts, which are listed in the show notes below. Traci will be glad to answer your questions on a future episode. Today, Traci and I discuss using OCD as a coping mechanism, 2 of Traci's top OCD triggers, how her family and friends react to her OCD, and where she is now in her OCD journey. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it helps you feel less alone. I've been told by my therapist that my OCD is hereditary.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you can think of anyone in your family history who might have had it.
That's a good question. As far as OCD in my family, I haven't known of anybody, but I know on both my mom and dad's side, there's a lot of anxiety. And I've wondered if maybe that's why I'm predisposed to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then you also have the type of OCD that's called pure O, which we cannot see. Mm-hmm. Do you know what pure O is?
Pure O, I believe, is just obsession. And in my case, I do have both. Mm-hmm. OCD
so
with
pure
ritual.
O is people who have intrusive thoughts, but they don't really perform rituals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so my therapist has told me that I don't have pure O because I do perform rituals. And so if you know someone in your family who had anxiety, mm-hmm. you don't know what was going on in their head.
Good point.
You know, if they didn't verbalize it or perform a ritual to make those intrusive thoughts stop, like you don't know that. So right there, anxiety. I believe that my paternal grandfather had it. I didn't know him for a long time, but I can still remember things he would do that were just very specific and you could count on it every single time. And he was very high strung. He was, very anxious all the time. And I really think that he possibly had it. I also believe that you can develop OCD later on in life. Mm-hmm. That my paternal grandmother, she was always anxious, but she lived to be almost 102.
Wow.
In the last 3 years of her life, she would create these obsessions, and most of it was around the air conditioner. And so she would time when the air conditioner would go on and when it would go off, and when it would go on and when it would go off. And we actually moved her to, one time we had the air conditioner replaced. We actually moved her to several different facilities thinking, there's actually something wrong with the air, or just to make her feel better, right?
Yeah.
And every time she get to a new place, the air conditioner goes off at this time, it goes back on at this time, And I think a lot of that was just the way she was coping with old age, impending death. So I do think you can also develop OCD later on in life.
Yeah.
After certain events or, things like that. So
absolutely. Because like I said earlier, Beth, I think that OCD, I'm no doctor, keep this in mind, but I think it develops as a coping mechanism. For me, it was a way, especially as a kid. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I had this terrible childhood. I didn't. But watching my mom and dad fight and being a grown-up now, I know that they were just picking at each other. I know what they were doing now, but back then, that was scary. Mm-hmm. And OCD was a way for me to cope when my dad would come home and tell my mom, "Hey, Sherry, I put the wedding picture in the garbage can over at Gas and Goodies," and oh my God, it just, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so where do you see yourself now? Like, have you improved?
Well, I had improved, especially after the OCD project, but I'm sad to say I've gone backwards. I'm in a place I don't want to be in. I'm not suicidal or anything like that, but my rituals, there's been a lot of stress in my life lately. And it's caused my rituals and OCD to go into overdrive. And so, yeah, I'd love to find help, but in the state of Arkansas, tough to do.
Yeah, their stress definitely brings it on.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely brings it on. If the more you can eliminate stress in your life, the better off you are.
Big time. Mm-hmm.
So, and like I stress to my listeners, OCD is not curable,
No.
but it is manageable. So, like you said, you will pop from one fixation to another,
mm-hmm.
and unfortunately you will always have OCD, but it can be managed. And I'm sorry that you're in a place right now that you don't feel like it's being managed, but I know you will figure it out. I know you are one of the bravest people that I think I've ever known, Traci, and I say that really sincerely, because I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. I know we said we weren't going to talk about the show, but I have a vlog that I started around the time of the OCD project, mm-hmm. and I was reviewing the episodes. That's kind of how I started the vlog. I was just reviewing the episodes, and I think I even wrote in there, my least favorite patient is Traci. I mean, I think I even wrote that in there, and it's up now for those of you who are listening. In the show notes, there is a link to my vlog. I was locked out of it, but I have now loaded everything onto the new blog, and I don't know if I kept that post in there. I probably did. But
it's okay.
A lot of the reason why you are like my least favorite person was not a personal thing, but it was the crying. You cried a lot.
Gotcha.
And I have a problem with crying. Ever since I was little, my brother, when he was a baby, I was 6 years old, he cried 24 hours a day, like he was sick. And I could not take crying of any sort. Yeah. And you know, it's always been that way. Kids crying, children crying, adults crying. It doesn't matter. I can't handle it. Dogs crying. Like, because I feel like I'm out of control and I can't help. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know how to help this person or this animal or this baby. And so I remember writing that. And then as the show went along, and then you know, you got treatment, I'm just like, oh my gosh, she has come so far. She is she is my favorite. So I was so glad that we stayed in touch, because my goodness. And go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I appreciate your candor there, Beth. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I will say the crying came from, because I don't like to cry either. I do my best to avoid it, believe it or not. I don't want to show any form of weakness. And on that show, I was very vulnerable. And the type of therapy that he had us doing, he was asking us to really be one with our OCD. You know what I mean? Get really deep. And it was hard, really hard. But then one night I got mad, and I don't even think they showed this on the show, but that anger propelled me to do better, and I did.
Which reminds me, the OCD project might be triggering for some of the listeners.
Yes.
And the problem is with triggers is you don't know what people's triggers are.
Exactly.
And so it's like, how can you give a trigger warning when you can't even mention what the trigger is? Like, I was in a lot of OCD Facebook groups for the longest time, and I got out of them because every time I would post something, they would remove my post because they said it could be triggering. And so then I started making posts and putting a trigger warning, but you just put trigger warning. It tells people nothing. Like, trigger warning. Okay, what are we going to talk about? Spiders, fires. Like, they have to actually open the post, Traci, to see what the trigger is. And by then, they've already been triggered. So triggers are so... Do you have any specific triggers at the moment?
I do. And before I tell you about my top two, one of the things that therapy taught me, because yes, triggers are definitely a real thing, but therapy gives you the tools to be able to handle that, because not everybody is going to monitor themselves. Not everybody is as, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensitive to these types of issues, and they're not going to censor themselves. So therapy gives you the tools to handle that. For me, if there's a storm outside, it's the word tornado.
I've noticed that in your Facebook posts.
Oh, God,
and, Arkansas is known for tornadoes. Like, you moved to the wrong place, Traci. You don't have earthquakes like in California, but you got tornadoes.
Dude, Beth, I would take an earthquake, a good old Cali earthquake, 10 out of 10 times over a tornado. Tornadoes scare the bejeevers out of me. Only reason I came to this state is because my mom drug us here, and I'm a mama's girl. The other word that triggers me, and it's hard for me to even say it, but I'm going to force myself to say it. It's the C word, and that's cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that word. I can actually, it's weird to describe. It's almost like I can feel it when I say it. Yeah.
Well, right now the C word could be something else, as a pandemic, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you say C word, everybody's like, okay, which C word are you talking about, right?
Yeah. Of the two, I find the one I just said much, much, much scarier. But that's just me.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about your family and your friends. Like,
sure.
Are they... Like, do they know what your triggers are? Because I have certain friends that know what my triggers are, and so because I've been very candid to my very close friends what my triggers are, and they have been really good about, I may mention this word, and it's a trigger for you. Are you ready, or do you want me just not to talk about it? And they give me the choice. That's a way that my friends, my closest friends, mind you, help me and keep me, sane. Yeah. Do your family and friends, where do they come in play here with your OCD? Do they help you? Do they get angry? Do they get tired of it? Like,
Beth, I was going to suggest, if you want it and the viewers want it, we ought to have an episode with my mom, sisters, and husband, because they definitely help. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, because sometimes they do make it worse. They are all very tired of it. And I know that I'm hard to deal with. Okay, I get that, and I've tried to work on that. But when I'm in the throes of it, I will tell them, guys, if you think it's hard for you, imagine what it's like being in my head. And right. I'm the one that has to turn the light switch on. I'm the one that physically hurts myself with this huffing ritual that actually hurts my chest to do. I mean, I have hurt my hand tapping on stuff before. So, yeah, on one hand, they do give me reassurance, because that's a big one with me, the constant reassurance. I'll tell you this, Beth, I do that to my boss. Of all people, it bleeds into work. But sometimes they're just not having it. They're like, Traci, you've got to figure this. You've got to do this. We can't do this. You're driving us crazy. Go take a pill.
Does your boss know?
Oh, God, yes. Everybody knows. I happen to work for a place. The team that I'm on right now is actually pretty good because I've had full-on panic attacks at work before. I've done it, I think, 3 times, and they allow me to just walk away. Just go breathe, do your thing. They're really cool, and I know not everybody is lucky enough to have that kind of support at work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I have an episode, I believe, coming up that's about how to handle OCD when you have a job.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So your family gets tired of it, but are they supportive? And all in all, do they know what your triggers are, and they try to, do they mention the word tornado every 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Do they take it seriously, or do they joke? Because some people joke about it, and it's not funny.
It's not. My immediate family does take it seriously. Now, they will say words around me, but they're not like a jerk. Tornado, tornado, tornado. They don't do that. There's a couple of extended cousins that will. I hate to say this, but my sister's boyfriend, who I have kind of a love-hate relationship with, one day he thought he would be funny and turn the light switch off and on over and over and over. He's like, how does that feel? You gotta stop. And I was like, I told my sister, you gotta tell him not to do stuff like that because that is not funny and he doesn't look cute. That was cruel.
I wonder if he's listening right now.
If he is, I'm not gonna say his name. I'm sorry, man, but that really was out of line. That was not cool. I love you, but stop.
Yeah. How did you... We're going to go ahead and say your husband's name. His name is Michael, right?
Yeah, Michael Perkins.
When you met him, did you tell him you had OCD, or did he just have to figure it out on his own, or...
How did that go? It's funny. Me and him go all the way back to kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
Yep. He was in Mrs. Dargo's. I was in Mrs. Barboni. And, of course, my teacher was the better one. But we lost contact when he moved away in 3rd grade. And we got together around the time I was doing the OCD project. So I was very open with it. I think I told him. Mm-hmm. And Michael is very good. He's very good, but there are times, especially when we're in the middle of a storm, that he will get irritated at me. Because I'm so over the top afraid a tornado's coming, especially when there's a severe thunderstorm warning. I can't handle it.
This, by the way, this can be very draining for family members and
yes.
friends. Okay, this just as much as on us as it can be. And have you ever lost relationships because of this disorder? I have.
You know what? Not. I have to think about this. I don't think I've necessarily. Well, I think it has affected relationships, absolutely, because back when I was with my previous boyfriend, Tommy, who I'm still friends with, he's a great guy, but I didn't have as good of a grip on it back then. And I have another issue on top of OCD. Do you want me to say what that one is?
That's fine.
So I have borderline on top of everything. That's kind of a...
I was diagnosed with that one.
Oh my... You too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. It's like, I hate you, don't leave me.
They sent me in and tested me for multiple personality disorder, which I knew I didn't have. Mm-hmm. And then I came out as borderline personality disorder.
Oh, be darned.
Yeah.
I have made it hard on people, and I feel bad. If anybody's listening, I truly am sorry. Back in the day, I know that, I don't know, I'm not perfect. I think that I could be mean sometimes. And even to this day, I will actively avoid creating friendships. Even though you and I are friends, I don't go out of my way to try to hang out with anybody or call anybody because I know how hard I am to deal with. I know that's really sad, but I do try to avoid people because of the OCD and borderline. So in that regard, yeah, I have lost relationships.
Yeah, possible relationships, right?
Yes. It's funny because, I work in customer service, and I can honestly say that people like me, and that always surprises me because I'm like, gosh, if you knew what was going on, OCD and borderline, you'd run for the hills.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel we just put a mask on.
Oh, yeah.
Around people, and
yeah,
it's sad that we do that, but it's a way of protecting ourselves as well as protecting them. And so.
And Beth, I will tell you this. I have been asked, I can't tell you how many times, how are you so happy all the time? This is not an act. I literally am I am a bubbly, perky person. But don't assume just because somebody has a smile on their face that everything's okay inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, going back to the tornadoes.
Okay.
when you post on Facebook, a tornado is, expected here. That probably helps you a little way just to kind of get it out, right? Like, you put it out there in the world, that. And we all know, I've learned in the past from you that, possible tornado. I bet Traci's a little bit anxious right now. And I think, that's one of the things I think about, like writing it down or recording it or talking about it. To me, writing it down in a diary does nothing. Somebody has to hear it. Somebody has to hear what I'm saying. So that's why I have a blog and now I have a podcast. That's the only thing that helps me. Putting it in a diary and shutting it does nothing. Yeah. So I encourage my listeners to find a way to express whatever's going on where somebody will hear it. Doesn't have to be somebody you know, but just getting it out there and not just sealing it in a book. Yeah, because even it's still closed. It's still not out there, Right.
Reddit is really good for that as well. And I think, like you said, Beth, people have to do what is therapeutic for them. For some people, this may work great. For others, are like, oh, no, I just keep it inside. I mean, hey, whatever works.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to announce that I've opened a Facebook page around and around the OCD podcast Facebook page. So if you guys want a safe space to share things, we are not therapists and, doctors. So it's not going to be a place where you're going to get answers, but you can just put stuff out there and people who are like you can comment, or you can just put those thoughts out there. And if there's something that's really very, disturbing, dangerous to you, we do suggest that you go and see somebody, that you do get help, because that's not what we're there for. We're just there for a community of support, understanding. That's what I want, a place where people like yourself understand what you're going through. And Traci is a member of the Facebook page, and it probably doesn't have many subscribers right now because I just opened it. So, but it will grow. So go ahead and, join the group and we'll see how it goes.
That's right. Like and share, guys.
Yeah. Anyway, anything I wanted to ask you if there was any, before we close this, if there's any words of wisdom that you want to give the listener, something comforting that you can tell them that will help them try to get through some of these struggles that they're going through.
Certainly. I know in my case, I use humor to get through a lot of it. Now, sometimes that's harder than others. I really have to reach and dig, but for me, it's keeping that sense of humor, because OCD goes hand in hand with depression. My husband has depression, and I have depression as well, albeit not as severe as his. But if you can laugh, if you can try not to have it be dark and horrible all the time. I mean, I get it. It is. I know it is. But also having that support system, like Beth just mentioned. If you don't have an immediate circle of people in your life, come hang out with us. That's what we're there for. That's why Beth is doing this. I can also tell you that OCD waxes and wanes. So it's not always severe, intense, horrible. There are periods of my life where I didn't even give it a thought because it wasn't as active as it is right now. So it's not always going to be as hard as it is now. I hope any of that helps. Yeah.
That's true. And when you're focused on other things, sometimes I'm not going to say it ever goes away, but when you put your energy, all that negative energy into something positive, that does help. Start a project, get really involved in it, and like I said, it will help. We are now in 2023, and there is so much help out there now. Guys, when Traci was younger, I was younger, they did not know what the hell we had. They had no clue. No clue. Now they do. There are so many things that can be done to help you manage obsessive compulsive disorder.
Right.
So, and if you find something and it doesn't work, try something else. Just keep going because there is help out there. And learn from us because we've been there when there wasn't anyone that knew what to do.
Yeah. Don't suffer in silence.
If I would have known about this when I was 9 years old, the pain and the hurt that I caused myself and other people never would have happened. I just cannot believe I lived over half my life not knowing what I had and what to do with it.
Thought you were alone, huh, Beth?
Yeah, and guys, you are not alone.
Nope. Not at all.
So, Traci, I want to close by saying that if you'd like to ask Traci a question, please put it in the show notes. Please message me, and all of my contact information is below in the show notes. My email, all of my social media contacts, because I have a feeling Traci and I will get together again really soon, and I will make note of those questions. Also, if you'd like to be a future guest on my show, you can also let me know. You can be completely anonymous on air. I'm totally fine with that. So, Traci, I'm so glad that you joined me today. I have learned so much just from this one talk, and I hope you'll join me again soon.
I absolutely will, Beth. It was an honor to be your first guest, and it really was. I'm so glad that you're doing this for people. You really are a good person. And as far as people asking me questions, guys, I'm an open book. Fire away.
Okay, well, we'll see you next time. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Bye, Beth.
So that was my conclusion of my first interview with Traci Perkins. I know that many of you connected with what she has experienced. Please contact me about any future topics you would like discussed on this podcast. And again, I invite you to join this channel's Facebook group, where you can talk to me, Traci, and others who live with obsessive compulsive disorder. Remember that you are not alone in your struggle with OCD, and it doesn't have to hinder your ability to lead a happy and fulfilling life. Until next time, I wish you all a beautiful day.